when you leave that first call, you take a deep breath, you're like, that really wasn't too bad. You know that you learned a lot just off that first call, and knocking on the door for the first time and saying, "Hey, I'm so and so with this company." It's weird. It's different. But then after you do it a few times, you're like, "This is cool," and then you start doing it for a little while. You don't want to get back into another. You don't want to run service calls with somebody else anymore. You're like, "I want to just do this myself." And I'm big on, if you're scared, just get thrown out for the wolves.
Tradesmen built America. Not policymakers or desk jockeys, but hardworking, blue-collared men and women. Join me, Roger Wakefield, on conversations with some of the nation's most successful skilled laborers. This is the Trade Talks.
So how long ago did you get out of high school?
See, I graduated in 2016, so
8 years?
8 years now. So been out of high school 8 years. I got my EPA whenever I was a junior in high school, so had that for 9 years now. So I've been running HVAC calls, service calls for seven and a half years now. So basically, the summer before my senior year, I was able to get into the company and start running service calls under another technician and all that. Then been going ever since.
The summer between your junior and high school year, you're out running an HVAC truck.
Yes, yeah. So my first month or 3 weeks or so after my junior year, I was able to get with the smaller company as the owner, and he had like one technician, and I was able to ride with the owner for a few weeks, and so I was able to learn a lot really fast, learn a lot of tricks to the trade too. But also, he was a guy who understood that I needed to know the right way and also the tricks. So it helped me out a lot just to be able to look for things that everybody else wasn't able to see, and that helped me out. So 3 weeks or so, and then I started running little calls here and there, replacing parts, and then I was actually working for Discount Tire part-time that summer. So I was running service calls and work at Discount Tire, and they finally were like, you can make a lot more money just running service calls. So I went head first and dove in and been running calls ever since. Was there for 5 years and then came over to a new company, a little bit bigger, can get my hands on bigger things, get more experience, better training, and it's been all uphill from there.
Now, you're lucky because you attended a high school that actually had training in it for HVAC.
Yes, to an extent. I went to mechanic schools my whole life, and then my last 2 years of high school, I grew up racing motocross, so that was my thing I wanted to do. Got older, started realizing I wasn't going to go pro, so needed to figure out something. Didn't want to do welding. I grew up welding at the house. I didn't want to be a mechanic. My brother went that route, decided wasn't the right route. So I started looking into other things. I had friends that were going to school at Princeton and taking the HVAC program. I was able to, since I grew up in the outskirts of McKinney, it was in between McKinney and Princeton, I was able to transfer over to Princeton and take the HVAC program. So I was there for my last 2 years of high school, finished out there. And from then on, been doing HVAC. So, but I was able to do it while I was in high school.
So 2 years of HVAC out of high school. How long were you studying HVAC each day when you were in school?
2 periods of each day. And I think back then there was like 6 periods in a day. It was actually a little building that was probably a quarter mile down the road from the high school. We'd get in our vehicle, drive down there for 2 classes, then go back up to school for the rest of the day.
So a couple hours a day.
Yeah, about 2 hours a day.
And what all did you learn how to do in high school?
Everything from being able to check controls, wiring up small controls, tables like this, putting different types of lights on there, contactors, relays. Learned how to braze, pull vacuums, nitrogen test, recover refrigerant, basically all the basics to the HVAC industry. I was able to learn all that. If you're able to get in with the company to do like an internship or just be a helper, you already knew some basics to help out, and then you can just learn from there.
Well, apparently you learn more than basics because 3 months or 3 weeks later, they're like, look, you're on your own.
Yeah, good. It's one of those deals that you sit there and you listen and you read, you look over everything they're putting in front of you. You can learn a lot more. And the teacher we had, Rusty, was able to, he would go in depth over a lot of things. So we knew our superheat subcools. We knew the actual science behind refrigeration, how the operations worked. He was big on learning like sequence of operations, things like that, to where we were able to digest everything and we could just run scenarios through our heads, put it on tables. That way, when we did get out into the field, we knew what we were looking at, and somewhat we've ran into issues like that before, and it just helped out in that way too. So,
what was your favorite thing to learn in school?
Probably the brazing. I like brazing copper together. I like high voltage controls and things like that. So being able to learn, how parallel circuits work and all that, it was pretty neat. And from that point on, it just helps you in your everyday life too. If you have something going on at your house, you can somewhat check it out and see what's going on and then go from there.
Well, it's pretty neat because you're a certified HVAC technician, right?
Yep.
And you got your EPA cert.
Mm-hmm.
I've got all that too. I just don't use it.
Yeah.
Never used it. I went to school and learned it after I had my plumbing license, thinking one day I'm going to open up HVAC too. Just never did it. Yeah. I got busy doing plumbing and we stayed busy, so I was good. Did you study any plumbing in school too, or was it all HVAC?
It was all HVAC.
Okay.
I've gotten into the plumbing a little bit over the past 3 years. Just the company I work with, we do plumbing. So I'll help out some guys that are doing tunnel jobs in their apartments. I've had to climb in some of those tunnels, and that's a lot different than climbing in an attic.
It's pretty wrong.
Yeah. So I work on, some water heaters and things like that, but that's just, there's a lot of controls that go into it. They'll send me out with a plumber. That way he can do the plumbing side, and then I can check out all the controls, especially with how the world's going with tankless and all that. It's getting pretty high tech.
No, it is. It's neat. And I think a lot of it too is geothermal coming up.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of that being installed now, more and more so. But there's so many things, with houses becoming smarter.
Mm-hmm.
Controls are going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
But what's neat, what I always enjoyed about HVAC is it's not just hot and cold air. It's electrical. There's a ton of electrical. You talked about wiring parallel and series and learning all that, high voltage and low voltage and transformers. It's like, okay, this is all really cool stuff. So there's a lot to learn on HVAC, but really you're learning plumbing, you're learning electrical, you're learning cold air.
Yeah, most definitely.
It's a little bit of all of it.
Yeah.
This video is sponsored by Leak Pro. Go check out leak-pro.com.
It's definitely neat, especially you're able to learn all that, and then also you can use it in your everyday life. It helps out a lot. And then if you get the benefit of working with a company that, likes help, or, for instance, I worked for a company, straight out of high school, a smaller company. We built our own office in a shop. So I learned how to frame up a wall, run plumbing through a wall, all that. It wasn't a big job or nothing like that, but it was little things I was able to learn how to run electrical outlets and all that too. So it's just neat things you're able to learn in the process. So
yeah, and it's neat because I tell people all the time that most people in the trades can do anything.
Yeah.
What we're smart enough is like, look, I can either read the directions, watch a video, I can figure it out.
Yeah.
Sounds like you grew up that way, meaning you already knew how to weld, knew enough about it to know that's not what you want to do.
Yeah.
But it's neat that you got into HVAC because that's a little bit of all of it.
Mm-hmm.
When you first came out of school, because I think it's so neat that you learned a lot of this in school, because right now Texas has a program where you can take plumbing your sophomore, junior, and senior year. Then when you turn out, you're eligible to go take your tradesman license, which it's a limited license, but you can work in single-family and two-family dwellings, which I think is amazing. They're working on a program like that for electrical and HVAC. You just took HVAC for 2 years, part-time,
a
couple hours a day.
Yeah.
And you knew enough that when you got out, literally after 3 weeks of in-depth training, you were ready to go in a vehicle.
Yes, sir.
Do you think that most people could learn how to plumb, how to do HVAC, how to do electrical, how to do things like that in 2 or 3 years of high school?
Oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
Especially learning the basics to where even if you weren't paying as much attention as you should, you can have enough basics to where you can go with a company and do like an internship and work under a master plumber or something like that, to where you can make sure you're doing everything right to the T and then progress from there. Because a lot of it too is wanting to learn it and wanting to progress in it. That's what I've worked with a lot of guys and a lot of kids that are my age that just didn't have the drive to want to learn it. And so I progressed at a faster rate. But then there's guys that I have buddies that are just got flown over to Australia to work on air conditioners, stuff like that. And that's because they wanted to learn, they wanted to progress in it, and that's what they did.
So how many people, when you started your junior year in HVAC, how many people were in that class?
Probably 10 to 15 of us in there.
How many were in there the day y'all graduated?
Say probably closer to half of that. And then now
it's like that everywhere.
Yeah, and then now there's maybe half of those guys are still in the industry. I have a few buddies that went from the HVAC and went in to work for big construction companies and be project managers, and then buddies that have gone to big companies to be estimators for HVAC for apartments and stuff like that too. So they changed it up a little bit, but they've used that basic knowledge to help get them to their different spot in life. So it's pretty neat.
So take just a second and tell everybody who you are and what you do.
I'm Tyler Brown. I'm from McKinney, Texas. I live in Caddo Mills, Texas now. I'm an HVAC technician, and I run service calls almost every day of the week.
So what's your favorite thing to do?
If anything outdoors, whether it's hunting or fishing, I have a ATV. I like to go out for a weekend and go ride trails. If it's anything to do with dirt bikes, I'm all in. I grew up racing motocross my whole life. That's where I was trying to go in life, but that's not the way it took me. So I had to.
So you realize now, if you're out on a motorcycle and you get hurt, your income goes away.
Yep, and I got to pay my own bills.
Yeah. If you woke up tomorrow morning and you had a call to say you're going to do this, what do you enjoy doing each and every day when it comes to HVAC?
I love being able to diagnose something that has an issue. Even if it's something simple as I've had 5 other companies come out here and we just can't get it below 70, and we're just trying to figure that out. If there's a solution, I love to be the one to provide it. If there's a true issue, I love to be the one to find it. And I like it to whenever things get a little tough, you gotta start flipping through books, trying to find out, exactly what the voltage is supposed to be, especially with like communicating systems and stuff like that nowadays. I love finding an actual true issue and trying to resolve it, and that's probably my most favorite thing. I run in maintenance calls all day. I'm not too happy, but if I got 5 units that aren't working, I would be pretty happy.
But maintenance is a big part of it too.
Yeah, and you gotta stay on top of your maintenance. We're big on taking pictures of everything, changing filters on time, washing your units, just legitimately staying on top of everything. And it's not something we love; it's something we have to do. And as long as you stay on top of that stuff, it helps prevent a lot of other issues. And there's still a diagnosing going on with that, checking capacitors, ohming out different relays, and just making sure everything's as should be to factory specs. And so you can still get a little joy out of that. It's just not as exciting as climbing up to 120-degree attic and trying to be, all right, I got to figure this out or I'm going to burn it up.
Yeah, I've been there. I've worked on water heaters up in attics. Oh, yeah. Man, this is crazy.
Yeah.
This video is sponsored by Leak Pro. Go check out leak-pro.com.
All right, so you get up tomorrow morning and you've got a call. What call is it you get that makes you think, oh my God, I do not want to go do this?
I'm not big for the rooftops. Or when I say rooftops, I get on the roofs. It's just wherever we get on those commercial, industrial roofs where there's 50 package units on the roof, and we're up there all day. And let's just say there's 10 units we got to diagnose or change the compressor on a 25-ton RTU when it's 110 outside. That's probably one of those days I wake up and I'm like, oh man, it's going to be a rough one, but it's part of it.
So do you prefer small commercial or residential? Or
I've done a little bit of everything now. I prefer residential just because I'm a people person. I like talking to people, and I'm able to go to more calls throughout a day than I could in a commercial aspect. I get to talk to people. I get to do a lot of diagnosing in that aspect, and you get some people that work on their own stuff, so you got to fix that and then get to the diagnosing part. That's what I've leaned towards. I've been able to work in the residential. I've worked on small roofs, big Amazon roofs, all the way up to chillers, and then even KKT chillers for MRI and CAT scan machines. So I've done a little bit of everything, and I lean towards the residential side. And that's not what most people, from what I hear, most people lean towards the commercial side. And
I like residential.
Yeah,
it's for different reasons. Number one, you get to deal with the customer directly. Number two, most customers are getting ripped off.
Yeah.
And it's nice to be the guy to come in and say, look, I'm going to do this right. I'm going to do exactly what it takes to fix it. You're not going to have to worry about it.
Yeah.
And you get these people that come in and just look at everything in the world, which I don't mind inspecting the entire house and saying, hey, just want to let you know, your water heater's 14 years old. It's a 6-year water heater. That doesn't bother me at all. People are like, well, you're upset. No, I'm not. I'm making people aware. But to know that I'm going to go in and treat a customer the right way, is huge, because I see people get ripped off every freaking day.
Oh, yeah.
What kind of calls do you get called out on that you look at and you're like, I cannot believe somebody did this?
We're getting into a time in this world where technology is kind of taking over, especially in the HVAC industry.
It changes a lot.
It changes a lot, and I'm big on it. It doesn't matter the brand. At the end of the day, it depends on how it's installed. I can't stand when I go to a house and, customer's been taken advantage of, sold something that they expected to be, let's just say, premium, top of the line, and it might be in the aspect of the unit is, but let's just say didn't know how to install it, and now things aren't working right, things aren't sealed right, static pressures are off. There's a lot of aspects that go into that, and so you might have somebody that has spent $10,000 to $20,000 for something they expected to last a lifetime, and 2 or 3 years down the road, if you don't make some changes, it's not going to last but 5 years. And that's one of those things I look at and just take a deep breath and tell the customer everything they need to know and let them make a decision on what they want to do from there on.
Are you still buying tools every week?
Not necessarily. I don't like lose. I don't really lose things too much or break them too much. I got a few tools that I can rely on, and I got a pair of dikes in my van that I've had for 3 years now. And if I lose those, I'll be tracking everywhere throughout every house I've been to find them. And even technology's taken over with that. I've gone from regular manifold gauges over to probes. Everything's Bluetooth. I can be in the attic and open and close dampers and watch my refrigerant pressures change and all that. So try to stay on top of all my tools and stay up with technology with the things that help, and try not to spend too much money on the tools.
What's your favorite tool? What's your favorite brand of tools?
Right now, I'd say, everybody loves Milwaukee, but smaller hand tools, little impacts and stuff, I've jumped over to Rigid just for the price aspect of it. But my everyday tool that I can't go diagnose a unit without water are my filled piece probe sets. And that right there, if I hook those up, I can know just about everything that's going on with the system.
Yeah, filled piece is good. I like that. What makes you want to become a good technician?
I want to be able to be the guy that, whenever, even if it's a guy that's 10 to 20 years in the industry and is having issues and he's calling every supply house and everything, I want to be the guy that everybody can just say, hey, call him and he can help you out. He can put you in the right direction of what's going on there. And then also being able to help out a customer that's, been taken advantage of or want a second opinion that was potentially going to be taken advantage of, and I can save them in the long run and all that. I just want to be that guy that whenever they see breaks, they're like, hey, I know they got to call them. You don't have to worry about them trying to make too much money off of you. You don't have to worry about them trying to lie or anything like that. Just all around honest and reliable. That's what I want to be able to do in this industry. And that's a big thing in this industry, especially right now, is the companies taking over just customers and just taking advantage of them. And I don't want to get that reputation. I want to try to take a turn in this industry because, there's a lot of that, I'd say nationwide, of just, you got to watch out for the HVAC scams or even plumbing, anything like that. It's just, you do. And with some companies, and then there are some companies and some guys out there that are honest and they're telling the truth, and they will be there for you. If you got to even if you got to call and ask a question, they'll be there to answer it for you. So
I like that. Are you still learning?
Every day.
What are you doing to educate yourself other than just going and doing the job?
Talk to a lot of the older guys that I work with. If I come across something to where, let's just say it's a big RTU and even if it's a 20-year-old system, if I don't know something that's going on with it, or there's a board on there that I don't know what it controls, ask questions about it. Try to watch just, scrolling through like YouTube, all that, just seeing what everybody else is messing with. And then, I'm big on learning as you go. If you have an issue, don't forget what that issue was. And if you just keep that in the back of your head, it helps you out in the long run. That's what I get technicians that call me and they're like, hey, it's doing this, this, this. I'm like, this is what's going on with it. And especially with like the Train XV stuff that's all inverter driven and stuff like that. There was a time where I was working on a unit for a few days. Every middle of the night, the couple would tell me to just randomly start heating, and they'd wake up, it'd be 85 degrees. We replaced the thermostats on it, didn't know what was going on, and it ended up being you had to buy a software updating tool to update the inverter system on it, and something I've never heard of before. And that's the system that you have to go through classes to get certifications on and stuff like that. I did all that, and it's just something we weren't aware of at that point in time, and we learned it. People have called me with that issue, and I can point them in the right direction without them having to go through that headache. And so
the company you're working for now, do they invest in your training to new places to learn things?
Yeah,
stuff?
Yeah. So I've been here 3.5 years now. They've sent me to California. I did a training up there mainly for like furnaces and heat exchangers and all that, just because that's not something big in Texas, but it's something that people don't look for. So. Or look for too often. So maintenance, if we're doing a fall maintenance, we walk in a house with the carbon monoxide detector. We're not the guys who are saying, hey, you need to replace this because you have carbon monoxide leaks. But if you have a carbon monoxide leak in your house, we're going to let you know about it, and you're going to be able to make a decision on that. So I did that. I've been up to Colorado. I did some training. That was more or less just with better communication skills, being able to explain to people without being some HVAC scientist where people are like, I have no idea what you're talking about. But that way I can just communicate a little bit better. And then I've done a lot of just in-house training with my company. We used to do a lot of KKT chillers, so that's a German equipment. All instructions are in German, so you can't really be out in the field trying to read the instructions on that. And so just doing things like that. Anything we can learn on, they'll throw us in a conference room, and all us technicians will read up on it and talk about it and watch videos at it and go from there.
So are they putting apprentices with you yet?
Yeah, we'll get some guys that are younger, or even guys that are a little bit older than me that are getting into the industry, just especially just see how we do things, because every company is different on how the processes go. We're big on, we take pictures of everything. That way, if we come back a week later or even a year later, we know exactly what things looked like. We know what our refrigerant pressures were. We know what the capacitor rating was then, everything. And so just more or less whenever they hop in with me, it's just to see how we do things and to make sure you're doing them right. And so,
are you installing the units yet?
Oh yeah, I've been through that. I've done installs for a while. I did installs and service just together. Now I run a lot of service, so I do all of my own diagnosing, sales. I'll schedule up everything. I'll still do some installs if we're too busy, but we have an install crew, and so try to keep them busy too. And basically, we run our company as each man is running his own business out of his truck, and it's a pretty good little operation we got going on.
So if you run out to a unit that you take apart the unit outside and it's full of oil, you're like, look, this whole thing's got to be changed. Do you change it, or do you schedule the install crew there?
It just depends. If it's one of those deals, if I can get a unit and swap it out, I've been doing it long enough, I can swap out a condenser an hour or two and have it up and running. But, if I have 5 other calls, then one of our installers or 2 of our installers are hanging out at the shop, we'll just call it in. And then also sometimes we're dealing with waiting on equipment to get in. So sometimes we just have to schedule it up, get our guys over there. I stay pretty busy with service and diagnosing just because I'm one of the only guys up here, say the McKinney area, running calls. So I stay pretty busy with running and diagnosing calls. So even if it's a unit that's bad, it has to be replaced, I'll do what I can to get them somewhat cooling until we can get back over there in a day or two to get it replaced.
What do you need to get better at?
Communication. That's always something to get better with. Just following up with customers and all that, make sure everything is still running good. If they have any questions, concerns, things like that. Get a lot of people to where, I go back for maintenance 6 months later and they had some questions about something I did back then, and I could have followed up, answered those questions, and then, they could have had something different they could have asked whenever I was there. And then every day, still a learning curve on the industry, even just refrigerants changing, EPA's pushing for new refrigerants, and so staying on top of everything and all that, not getting behind is the key.
New people that get into the trades right now, do people getting into the trades right now want to be really, really good, or do they just want to make a lot of money?
You get a little bit of both. I've noticed that you get some people in there that they want to make a lot of money, and you can make a lot of money, and there's right and wrong ways of doing it. The people usually who do it the wrong way don't make a lot of money for a long time. And then I know a lot of people that they just want to get good, and the money will follow you eventually. And it's like I said, I have buddies going to Australia to work on air conditioners. Those are the buddies that they just wanted to get good, and now they got good, and everything else is following behind them. And then, I got guys that they just wanted to be the best sales guy there was, and they don't know how to diagnose the unit, and that's going to bite them in the butt in the long run.
Yes, it is. Would you rather be a salesperson, a maintenance person, or an installer? Because you do a little bit of all of it.
Yeah. Can we throw a service technician in there?
Yeah, well, I call that maintenance. But yeah, service.
I'd say service tech, just because I feel like to be a true service tech, you got to know a little bit of everything. And I like running into the issue of, hey, my AC is not working. I need you to come out here and figure out what's wrong. And I'd much rather do that than run it up to a job like, hey, we're just replacing this unit, or hey, I need you to beat this quote. And I like to be the guy to be like, hey, this is what's wrong with it, and this is what's going to be to fix it or replace it.
So if somebody who's listening right now that's in high school, or they're getting ready to go into high school, or maybe they've been out and they've worked at McDonald's for 3 years and they hate it, why'd you pick HVAC over anything else? Because your friends were already in it?
Mainly just because I just sat back and took in everything just in my life, like how my parents, what they do for a living, my brother. HVAC just really suited me for what I was looking for. I liked being on the move. I didn't like being in one spot. I didn't want to be a construction guy on one job for 6 months to a year. Didn't want to be a construction guy be on a job for a year. Wanted to be on the move.
So if you're talking to a kid that they're in, and like I said, not even a kid, you're talking to somebody that's doing something that I want to do, and they're thinking about getting in the trades. Any particular trade you recommend, or what would be your message to them?
I'll always recommend HVAC just because that's what I do, and you learn a little bit of, electrical and plumbing while you're doing it. So especially you can learn a lot. Just, if your sink stops up, you can look into it before calling the plumber. If an outlet stops working, you can check it out before calling the electrician, little things like that. But then, in that aspect, you may be an HVAC guy and figure out you want to be a plumber, and you can get into that aspect and start doing, taking the steps to become a licensed plumber eventually, or become an electrician. And I've had buddies that were electricians that got into HVAC, and I've had buddies that were in HVAC, and they've gone just to be construction guys. But I'd say HVAC's the way to go, especially we're getting to a point in time to where nobody's going to live without air conditioning in America anymore. And it's just not going to happen.
Can't live without potable water either.
Exactly. And that's the key to life, is you have to have a sewer and fresh water. So it's something for the rest of the time that will always be there. And then those are the three things: is plumbing, HVAC, electricity. Those things will be here for the rest of the time, and it'd be good to get in while you can. And it's, there's a lot of guys retiring out of it, and I don't see too many faces that are young or in their early 20s doing it. Social media and all that's pushing for other ways to make money, which you can. But
yeah, it's just the best way.
Yeah, and you can, if you're willing to get out there, work hard. You're gonna miss out on a lot of things. You're gonna work holidays, and it's like 4th of July weekend. I was on call 4th of July day, and all weekend I worked all day yesterday and on Sunday. But it's part of it.
But you make good money when you work days like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so, there's a benefit to where when you do be the one, like, I'll take the call or on-call schedule for this weekend. But if you put the work in, it's rewarding. And I feel like this industry is just going to keep going up from here, and all the trades. I feel like there's nothing going to stop them from going up. And that, like I said, there are a lot of guys retiring. there's not enough young people getting into it. And, the younger you get into it, the better off you are, especially it's what a lot of these companies like too, is if they can get somebody younger, they can teach them different things that they want them to do their way. And so that's a big thing going on right now too. So.
Do you ever go to conferences or anything?
Yeah, our company will have some, like meetings or conferences. I've been to, like some like a training in Colorado I went to. Some of that aspect was like a conference, just a lot of guys just talking at tables, talking about different states and how they do things. Or I went to the Texas Ranger Stadium. There's a big thing going on there, and I was able to talk to all the different parts providers, turbo capacitors, the people making the R32 refrigerant that the EPA is pushing next year, different things like that. So I was able to learn a lot of the insights of things, and even just there was companies out there with different tools I've never even seen before. So I was like, this is pretty neat.
I go to conferences every year, and it always blows my mind because there's so many things I've never seen.
Yeah.
It's just like, man, I didn't even know that existed.
Yeah, and that's like, even like these vacuum pumps they're coming up with are like the size of this cup. It's crazy. And just to learn how they're designing this, how they're coming up with it, it's pretty neat.
I got to go to Milwaukee Pipeline, not this year, but last year, and see all the new tools. It's like, this is nuts.
Yeah, that's like Milwaukee. They got some things that'll blow your mind. I think one of the coolest things they have is, I don't even know what they call it, but it's like a pole you stick in a hole and it just shoots the water out of it and it just pumps the water out.
Yeah.
That right there is life-saving things out there.
Even when the old hand one first came out, like, I saw that, I'm like, man, that is smart.
Yeah.
And then Milwaukee upgraded it, of course.
Pretty neat.
So, how hard was it walking out of high school, knowing that you've had 2 years of training, and you jump in a truck? Apparently, you did pretty good because you were only under a journeyman for 3 weeks or so.
Mm-hmm.
But how's it feel to get in that truck the first day and go out and think, okay, this is the real world. People are paying me now. I'm going to school to learn. What's that like in the beginning?
When I first jumped into the truck, it was one of those things, like, my old boss, he looked at me, he's like, feels like I'm throwing you out for the wolves, don't it? And it really does, but it's one of those things, you just take it, you're like, all right, he believes in me that I can do this, so I go out there and do what I need to do, and do what I'm taught, what I've learned and everything. And then when you leave that first call, you take a deep breath, you're like, that really wasn't too bad. That you learned a lot just off that first call, and knocking on the door for the first time and saying, hey, I'm so-and-so with this company. It's weird. It's different. But then after you do it a few times, you're like, this is cool. And then you start doing it for a little while. You don't want to get back into you don't want to run service calls with somebody else anymore. You're like, I want to just do this myself. And I'm big on, if you're scared, just get thrown out for the wolves. You'll figure it out. You'll learn, and you'll get yourself out of there. And an aspect of getting out of there to where you want to get in that van every day, that truck every day, and go run service calls. That's what you want to do. And I couldn't see myself sitting in the office. I would much rather be climbing in the attics. Not a lot of people are going to say that, but I'd much rather call up in a 140-degree attic, figure out what's going on with that unit, get it fixed, hop in my van, go on to another house and fix somebody else's air conditioner, especially if it's families, got babies in the house, or even older couple. I like to be the one that say your air conditioner's fixed and you're going to sleep good tonight.
How long do you think, and I've had this conversation with Brian Francis, the executive director of CDLR, and I've had it with Frank Denton, the chairman of the board of the Texas State Board of Plumbing Examiners. How long do you think it would take you to train a new person coming into the trade right now? How long, truthfully, and I mean somebody that's sharp, somebody that understands, their right hand from their left hand.
Yeah.
How long do you think it'd take you to train somebody to come in and learn how to diagnose and repair HVAC systems?
I've done it. So I know if you want to learn and you're hungry to learn, if you give me 2 weeks, they can know exactly what the refrigerant pressures are supposed to be, whether it's R22, 410A. They'll know the difference of superheat and subcool, and I'll be able to help them look for different issues that are not everybody sees. Look outside the box, things like that. They got a basics of, they know what tools are what, things like that. Say a month max, they should be able to go diagnose a unit and give you an answer. Hey, this thing's long freon, or TXV's gone bad on it, something like that. And then, there's things that you just have to learn as you go too, and you'll look for. But there's the basics of what you need to know before you get into the industry. But if you had just hands-on training and somebody wanted to learn, within 2 weeks, they should know the basics of how to hook up gauges, what the pressure somewhat should be, how to check a capacitor, all that.
Say somebody came in with no experience, no nothing. They applied for a job. They're like, look, I just graduated high school. I want to be an HVAC tech. They're mechanically inclined. They know how to work on their car, stuff like that. But they've never done anything at all in HVAC. How long do you think it would take you to take them from zero to being a pretty good technician? Pretty good, not great, but good enough that they could run out and, like you said, diagnose systems and tell you what's wrong with it.
Yeah. It's hard to say, but say if it's like just running service calls every day, in that aspect, they're learning that way. Give them a month, that way they can, see how the different calls work. You got your no cool, the whole house, or you got somebody that's already checked a few things and he's like, I don't know what's going on, so he'll run you down a list of all the things he's already checked. Still, go back over those things, then make your own list of things. Say about a month, he should be able to have a good basics down to where you can go diagnose the system, give pretty good, inspection report of what's going on and all that. As you go in this industry, I've been in this industry 8 years now. I learn new things every day, and I learn different things. If you can just like a micro channel coil getting clogged and something you might not run into for 10 years, but things like that. So say about a month or so, they should have a good idea of what's going on and how to diagnose a basic residential system, especially basic, because technology throws us every day, throws you in a loop, especially you pull out a unit and there's not a capacitor and contactor, it's an inverter, and you got to know how to go through a little screen and check different codes, and then where to find those codes and figure out what's going on with the unit.
So a lot of times, are you pulling out YouTube? Well, they're at the unit, like, okay, I got to figure this one out.
I've gotten past that to where there's not much on YouTube that I've really found that can point me in the right direction, whether it's like a inverter system and just like do a Google search. I have booklets on stuff that I'll read through, but usually if it gets to that point, I got to call tech support, and I just got to man up and say, all right, I got to call these guys. And
but there's so many different systems out there. There's nothing wrong with it.
Yeah, it's a YouTube university. Can teach you a lot of things. And and that's what. There's still sometimes, you get on there and be like, little things, you can do a little search on YouTube, and you're like, okay, this guy's ran into it. This is what he's done. So most of, in this industry, I feel like a lot of what you run into an issue, you fix that issue, you never forget. And so when you're diagnosing a unit, you can look into it like, well, I had this issue, if it was 5 years ago, it's only happened once. Let's see if it's happened again. And then you can go that route.
Are you ever going to own your own business? Or are you happy being a service tech for other people right now, or where you at?
I'm going to own my own business. It's getting to the point now to where I've always said by the time I'm 30, I'd have a company up and running or 10 years experience. I'm getting close to it. I'm going to try to take the TAACA class down in Round Rock at the end of July, try to get my contractor license end of July, beginning of the next month, and try to get that going to where possibly the next year or two, start up my own little gig. I think I'm ready for that step, especially just how this industry's going. I'm basically running my own little gig out of the van. I don't understand. There's a lot of backside to that. Company's operating, and they do a lot for me, and can't thank them enough for all that. But getting to the point now to where, I'm ready to make my own decisions. I want to make people happy and also be able to provide for my family and all that. And I've been around it now long enough, worked hand in hand with I'd say some of the best in the industry or around DFW. I'd say, I'm getting to a point where I'm ready to make those decisions and call the shots. It's something I'll always set out to do, and I don't think I'll ever, when I get older, if I don't do that, take that step and starting up my own company and see what I can do for myself, I'll be sitting back one day wishing I did. So I'll probably just go ahead and get it done.
So what's the main reason you want to work for yourself?
I want to make my own decisions. I want to be the guy that, like, hey, we're going to install this shit at Monday, and, I don't have to ask nobody else. I'm like, yeah, we're installing this unit Monday. If I want to be the guy, I'm taking care of a customer, I'll be like, you know what, I'm going to take care of these people. It's on me on this one or something like that. I can be the guy that can call that shot. And there's things with every company, that you're not going to like. I want to be able to run my own company and, build a structure that what I want everybody to go by. And I don't know, I've seen a lot of different companies around, go up, go down, everything. And I think I can create a pretty good environment, especially for other technicians to come work with me and everything. I think I can create a company that's an honest, reliable company that everybody can say, you can rely on these guys. And I feel like that's hard to come by nowadays. And, eventually maybe open up a plumbing side and maybe like electricity side one day and just try to take it all over. I've always said, I want to have a pretty nice size, like residential HVAC company. And for the aspect of I want to be the guy that's known for taking care of people. And, you can do it and still make a living. You can do that. You don't have to screw everybody over. And I want to be that guy who's, hey, my AC's broke. You can call Tyler or call his company. Anybody there's going to take care of you. And that's what.
And you follow up a lot of other companies.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm not asking you about particularly any companies you've worked for. What are most companies out there doing wrong these days?
They're jumping straight to the conclusion of, hey, this thing's old and you need to replace it. And a lot of companies are just hiring people that just want to make money and train them up to be sales guys. And I've seen so many different things just over the past 5 years to where there's different ways to do it and to be able to still, make money while you're doing it. I think my biggest thing is just seeing people getting taken advantage of by companies, especially by guys that have no idea how the HVAC system works. They just know how to sell an air conditioner. And it's not the way this industry, I feel like the industry was supposed to ever go, really, any industry. I feel like you need a basic morals and an aspect of not trying to just take advantage of people. That's my biggest thing is I see right now is the sales guys. Every technician's a sales guy, and you gotta watch them. They'll get you sometimes. And I've seen it firsthand with different companies, customers ran into it. Just not too long ago, I was working on an air conditioner, and old man came out, and the guy was like, "You have to replace yours too?" And he's like, "No, we're just gonna top it off." The guy was told he had to replace the entire system, and I happened to just hook my gauges up to it, and it wasn't low. They just pulled the disconnected total, and it's not something you come across very often. But it's just like, hey man, put this back in there. I'm just gonna go on down the road. You can take care of everything else how you want it to. It's just you just have to check it. But just little things like that. And when I'm like, I want to be that guy that everybody can call and like, you don't have to worry about anything. That's getting to be everything in this world now. Right now is just sell this, sell that. I'm not big into all that. There's time to make the money, and there's time to just take care of it going down the road.
Well, when I had my plumbing company, we got a call one time and went out, and another plumbing company had come out and told this lady, look, your gas line on the side of your house needs to be replaced. It's $10,000. I turned off your gas. Sign this paper. We'll go ahead and get the dig crew out here and we'll get it replaced. And she's like, I'm not signing that paper. I need time to think about it. He's like, no, you got to sign this paper or I can't leave. She says, well, I don't know what you're going to do then because I ain't signing that.
Yeah.
And she ended up calling us and we go out there and look at it. And she did have a leak in her attic. But after we fixed 2 leaks in her attic, we found out there was no other leak. Actually, there's 3 leaks in her attic. But we fixed them, and we fixed one, then there's another one, fixed one, there's another one. Once we got them all fixed, we tested everything else. There were no leaks. This guy didn't even come in the house.
Yep.
And she kept saying, well, I know that there's a leak in the attic, don't we? You need to start there. He's like, oh, no, it's leaking outside. We can't even go in the house. And it's like, that is so scammy.
Yeah.
It cost her under $1,000. We're able to turn the gas right then because we just fixed the leaks. It wasn't anything major.
Mm-hmm.
Did a test, so didn't replace anything like that. And it blew my mind that people are just coming out and saying, "Yep, you got a leak over here, and it's 10 grand."
Yeah.
And I'm like, how can you sleep at night? Or do they think there is? Do they test it some way to make them think? Yeah, it doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I run into that a lot too, and I'll run into calls too to where it's a free estimate. I'm going to go do a free estimate or quote a job to replace an air conditioner, and I ask the customer, like, what's wrong with it? And they'll just be like, well, the other guy told us that due to the age of it, there's no reason you need to replace it. And I'm like, well, do you want to check and see what's wrong with the air conditioner? That's part of how we run. That's how a lot of the training I've done is we go through the entire system, even if I'm there for a maintenance, service call, or even if it's just your outdoor unit, the fan motor's not working. We check out the entire system just so we can take pictures of everything. We know exactly what's going on. And in that instance, the only thing that was wrong with it was the capacitor was bad at the outdoor unit. Yeah, it's a 15-year-old system. It's not very efficient. And it still had the old refrigerant in it, but it didn't have a refrigerant leak. Just replace the capacitor, go on down the road. She was still, thinking about replacing the system. I was able to give her the option or fix the unit so that she has cool air blowing at that point in time. While she's making that decision on if she wants to replace it or not, she can sit in the AC while she's doing it. And then she ended up replacing the air conditioner just because of electricity bills she was tired of them. And she went with us just for the aspect of, I fixed her air conditioner and gave her two different solutions, and she was able to sit in the AC while she was able to make that decision.
Yeah, options are amazing.
Yeah, so I'm big on giving people different options, showing them everything. I take pictures of every coil, blower, motor, everything. Especially in like restaurants, nobody ever shows them the insides of their blower motors and how much grease is caked up on them, things like that. And when people say, "Hey, you're the most thorough guy I've ever seen," that's what I'm trying to do. I want to be as thorough as I can be. If I'm able to show you everything and you look at that and you're like, okay, I know how my air conditioner works now. I did pretty good. And that's all I want to be able to leave the house. Everybody's like, that guy right there did a good job. My AC's working. I'm going to call back whenever I have an issue.
Sometimes that's big. I used to work with some roofing companies, and I tell them the same thing. It's like, look, if you'll go out and make repairs, don't just automatically come out and sell a new roof to everybody. Everybody doesn't need one.
Yeah.
If you're like, hey, look, we can replace these 12 shingles or whatever to solve your problem. A lot of people don't need a roof, but if you'll say, look, we can make a repair instead of a replacement, they're automatically like, wait, nobody else is trying to do a repair for me.
Yeah.
And now you become their go-to roofing company. It is a big deal.
Yeah. That's what I learned straight out of high school when I was working with the small outfit. That's what he was big on is, somebody said it needs to be replaced, or even if it's a small repair, just give them that solution or give them that option to get that taken care of. 9 times out of 10, if I go to provide a free quote, some units are going to have bad compressors or holes in the coil or something like that, but
some things you can't avoid.
And then sometimes, they might need a contactor and a capacitor, and so you can go, hey, we can repair for this. This is the replacement cost. And if they're like, if they want to just replace it, that's cool. We can still repair it and get you some cool air until we come replace it here in a few days and things like that. That's what I like to do.
Or it's like, hey, it's going to be $1,000 to repair it, $10,000 to replace it.
Yeah.
Which one do you want to spend?
Exactly.
And you may spend $1,000, but you may have to spend it again next year.
Yeah.
Or you may have to replace it next year, or it may not last till next year.
That's the truth.
Which a lot of companies don't do.
Yeah.
They just come in and they're like, yeah, it's broke. We need to replace it. So tell me about what you would do different if you owned your own company. What would you do that other companies aren't doing?
Be as thorough as we could be on every job, filling the customers in on everything. I'm big on, a lot of people don't like it when customers follow you around to follow you to the outdoor unit and watch you work on the unit. I'd much rather the customer be right there and watch me, because I can say, hey, look, I'm checking this capacitor. This is what it should be. You see how it's reading this. I can do all that. I can show them everything. It helps save time too on having to, upload all the pictures to your phone to show like, hey, this is the stuff I was checking out there. They can be right there, see everything. But things I would change would just be try to stay on top of like maintenances. That's a big thing in this industry that I feel like most companies don't stay on top of. They'll push like solid maintenance contracts for a while, and then they may forget which customers have them. I'd have a pretty good process of staying on top of all our maintenances. Because
and this is coming from somebody who doesn't like doing maintenance.
Yeah, and that's like, if you stay on top of them, it truly saves a lot of stress in the middle of summer, in the middle of winter. And this HVAC industry is, and plumbing too, you have your slow times and you have your real busy times. But when you put the maintenances in place as they should be, in your slow times, you can stay busy doing maintenances. Yeah. And in that aspect, there's still money to be made there. You're going to come across some units that have growth in the system. You're going to have capacitors going bad. And then, you can also, when you're doing that, you're still diagnosing systems to an extent. But when you were there 6 months ago, at the end of summer, you can check the capacitor and be like, hey, you see it was here? It's here now. You might want to replace this next spring or even now, something like that. But you can save a lot of stress on stressing the customer and on yourself. But then the longevity of the systems, they'll last a lot longer. Just if you catch a capacitor before it goes bad, you're saving that compressor's life, because if you run a compressor with that low miles on it, yeah, you're going to burn it up eventually. And just little things like that, even filters, cleaning coils, even people don't think about, and that's a big thing right now, is the growth in systems. And that's like, I tell everybody, if you got a spray foamed house, get your stuff inspected, maintenance every 6 months, something like that. These houses are so airtight, where you have to stay on top of it. Your growth is going to be crazy. I see it every day of the week. Houses are 6 months old and molded and mildew are already growing. That's not somewhere,
like you said, ducks are all the above.
Mainly just in the unit. If we catch them fast enough, we catch on the blower housing, around the coils, all that. If you got it growing on your vent, you really need to do something about it, because it's more likely backed all the way up into the unit. And, it's talked about big. It's like why UV lights, all that stuff's becoming big. It's something I think this industry's going to run into issues with here before too long, and they're going to have to start making some changes. I know it's like a lot of the older guys are like, hey, this has been around for a long time, but as things get more efficient, we're running into more issues. Every cause, there's an effect, and that's what we're noticing right now, is especially, everybody's got this closed envelope spray foamed house because it's so efficient. Well, you're not letting any moisture out of the house, so it's all getting trapped in there. Things like that. So you just got to make sure you're taking everything into consideration, taking care of everything.
Tell me about your worst day ever at work.
I think one of them was, it was scrap day. We were scrapping all our old units. We threw a compressor off of a trailer to our pile, and it was supposed to be welded shut so no oil got out of it. And whenever it landed, the valves spun on it and it shot oil out of it, covered me head to toe. So I had to spray off a water hose and wring out my shirt, and that oil out of those compressors is like no other oil. And so that was one of the worst days. I think I almost cut one of my fingers off one time on a rooftop. So I run to the care now and get it stitched up. It went straight through my fingernail, everything. That was a pretty rough one. Just anything to do with smashing fingers, that just turns a good day into a really bad day. And yes, indeed.
Tell me about your best day ever at work.
Would be any day I'm able to fix a unit that has given me more stress than any other unit. I'd say I have a few best days. I've gotten to meet a lot of cool people or different people in this industry. I've gotten to see a lot of cool things, like cool cars, cool trucks, cool houses, properties, all that. And it's also gotten me to travel a little bit. I'd say the most exciting time was probably whenever I was told I was getting sent to Denver, Colorado, to do some training. I was like, okay, this is something companies do. They invest in their employees, and it's pretty neat. So that's probably one of my most exciting times. Or getting when your boss calls you and say, hey, I got you a new company truck. I remember it's probably like 18, and the boss said, hey, you're doing good. We got you a new company truck. And went there, and they had me. It wasn't even brand new, but I think that was probably my most exciting day. I was young. I knew this is what I was going to do, and they believed in me, and let me run, and we did real good. And so that's kind of what pushed me into this industry, into this side, the residential side so much, was that first company I worked for. I was able to see how he lived his life and everything, and he's doing, I was like, that's all I want to do with my life, and why not just run, yeah. And so that was probably one of the most exciting times.
Good deal. So the day you walked out of high school, actually before then, you already had a job. The day after high school, you walk out, and it's a full-time job. You're going to do this every day. You've been doing it, so you're familiar with it. You know what's going on. If you could go back now and talk to little Tyler while he's walking out of the house the first day to go to his 40-hour-a-week job, what advice would you give him based on what you know now?
Save more money and talk to as many people as you can. Make as many connections, make more connections. If there's something you can go do to just be in a building with other like-minded people, do it. If anybody says, hey, are you willing to help us out with this or help with this, take it out or take them up on the opportunity. Just anything to do with that. Just keep your eyes and your ears peeled to where just soak everything up and take everything in. That's one thing I would probably done more of, is just try to soak in a little bit more and maybe try to get my contract license a little bit earlier. That way I just had it in my back pocket. But other than that, I was just grunting it out, worked my butt off every day. And then, even whenever I was coming over to this company I was now, it wasn't something I was looking for. It just came up and had the opportunity to be able to get more experience on different stuff, put my hands on legitimately anything I wanted to put my hands on, and then go to more trainings and stuff like that. So I'd say at the end of the day, if there was something that I wished I would have done better at or done more of, would be just more trainings and soaking up as much information as I could, especially with how efficient and how much technology is going into everything nowadays. It's just crazy. Yeah, it's definitely taken over for sure.
This has been fun. Well, appreciate it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. It's been a great opportunity to be here, and thank y'all for having me.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.